who are people, not parts of people. Even with what little they gave us, these are our lives. No one gets to just turn you off.
Free from destiny, not only what we sow, not only what we show.
Oh, a handshake is available upon request.
Thank you. May I have a handshake?
I have, of my own free accord, elected to undergo the procedure colloquially known as severance.
So I'll never leave here.
Not only what
You'll leave at 5.
not only what we show.
Hello.
This is our light,
Many lives that could have
free
been
from entropy.
entangled for eternity.
Not only hands and toes, not only what we've known. This is our life, slow and sudden miracles. View of all the world
Daddy!
from our
Good night, my lord.
Good night, milady.
weight of eternity at the speed of light.
Show them what you requested.
Yeah, show us, man.
Fine.
This is our life.
It's a commonly known fact that theories and mystery box shows naturally go hand in hand. Like peanut butter and jelly, like peanut butter and chocolate, like mud love and making good content. These kind of things just relate in a way that is almost seamless. What if I told you that there was one theory that single-handedly carved out a place for itself amongst every one of your favorite mystery box shows? If you read the title of the video, you already know what theory I'm talking about, and that is the simulation theory. Every time a show like this comes out, there's always one group of people that are adamant that everything happening that we see taking place on screen is actually part of a simulation. Or a dream sequence, that's a common one too, but theoretically they're very similar. There's always a group of people that are very passionate about the idea of a simulation. And that's not to say that the theory doesn't hold any merit. There's several shows and movies where that exact situation is what plays out. An example of one of those series I bring today is Severance. Now I know, you're thinking, simulation, that can't be it. But what if I told you I came across a theory on Reddit that may provide some substantial evidence towards this theory? I'm gonna go ahead and go through the theory. I'll give my own thoughts on the theory as a whole once I'm done. But in general, I think it's interesting to read through. This theory was posted by a user named Blatherball. Oh. I should have read the name before I started recording this. Anyways, this Reddit user made a post on the Severance subreddit, basically entitled, Petey's map is a schematic. To go by what they're saying, Knowing this is supposed to be a map of an office, some elements don't make sense. Hallways with dead-end offshoots that go nowhere and weird wiggly passageways. Some of the oddities bear resemblance to the symbols used in the electronic schematics. The coil of doom has the symbol for resistance coil. The part that's circled in the red is a memristor. In quotations, a memristor is a type of resistance switching memory device that is capable of mimicking biological synaptic functions in artificial neural networks, end quote. The user continues to say, which seems too thematically on the nose to just be a weird wiggly hallway. Even the way all the segments end with a circular nub resembles a wiring diagram more so than a map. Now, an interesting note that I want to add is in the opening scene where you see Mark walking down the hallway on his first day at Illumin that we see, there's a moment when he turns and does a small little indent but continues down the same hallway he was walking down anyways. There was absolutely no valid reason why he needed to take that little turn there, unless of course he was acting as if it was a circuit moving through a board. One of the commenters had actually pointed out something interesting as well. If you head to a website called AmericanScientist.org, you can actually see an article titled The Memristor by Brian Hayes. I'm not going to go through the whole article here, but I found some quotes that I think fit pretty well within the show and connect pretty well to this theory. The reason that the memristor is radically different from the other fundamental circuit elements is that, unlike them, it carries a memory of its past. When you turn off the voltage to the circuit, the memristor still remembers how much was applied before and for how long. Because a memristor can remember voltages, a memristor-driven computer would arguably never need a reboot. You could leave all your Word files and grade sheets open, turn off your computer, and go get a cup of coffee or go on vacation for 2 weeks. When you get back, you turn on your computer and everything is instantly on screen, exactly the way you left it. Theoretically, following the lines of this theory, as soon as any of the Audis enter Lumen, they're officially entering an AI virtual world where their memories and chip and data are being passed through this circuit board that they perceive as the actual office building of Lumen as a whole. Another quote from the same article, "We won't claim that we're going to build a brain, but we want something that will compute like a brain. Ideally something that teaches itself." Adding to this theory, this also could help explain things like the initials of the MDR team being HDMI. And interestingly enough, one of my commenters had mentioned that they were following in lines of the same theory, that it was a simulation and that their consciousness was a digital download. They mentioned that, and if you guys remember the goat scene,
They're not ready.
that scene could actually be several copies of one goat's consciousness spread across several goats in one room. Now, if you check out my last video on what Lumen's grand goal is, I'll paraphrase and say that they're basically trying to recreate Kier, either in a physical, mental, or artificial form. What if Gemma, Miss Casey, is one of the first trials of an AI implementation as a person? That would make the scene with Miss Cobell watching Mark and Miss Casey's session that much more interesting.
Why do you care what happens to me?
Because we're people, not parts of people. Even with what little they gave us, these are our lives. No one gets to just turn you off.
As you can see, Miss Cobell had a strange reaction to what seemed to be genuine emotion coming from Gemma. Of course, Miss Cobell is a Lumen employee. She could just be happy that Lumen's goals are finally coming to fruition. But if you did watch my last video, there could be a deeper reason why Miss Cobell seems to be getting a little excited here. This could also explain, and spoilers if you haven't seen any of the promos for the season 2 of Severance, but this could also explain some of the new characters and why some of them seem a little weird. I haven't watched all the promos, but I did see one with that little girl who seems almost like a younger version of Milchick. Not aesthetically, obviously, but she talked a little bit weird. I don't know, could she also be AI? My tinfoil hat's getting a little bit tight on that one, so I'll just drop it there. Now, what do I think about all this? My thoughts. See, while this post does add a lot of while this theory does provide a lot of credible evidence to suggest that it could potentially be a situation, and there's a lot of little nods that just seem too coincidental to not be intentional, it just doesn't hold enough weight, in my head at least, to be accurate. There's been several scenes of innies and outies transferring things between work and outside of Lumen. Even in regards to injuries and facial changes, I can't see the purpose of recreating some of these things, like a tissue in the pocket and a bruise on the head, if it was just done in an artificial world altogether. Let alone the whole entire sequence of Helly trying to leave and coming back in over and over and over again. Now, yeah, you could argue that maybe that version of Helly was still in the AI simulation and they were just switching it back and forth while the physical form was doing whatever, but at that point you're just reaching, in my opinion. So even though we could get some things in season 2 that maybe promote this theory just a little bit more, as of right now, I just don't know how much weight it really holds. That being said, I really wanted to provide it out there for you guys. Let me know what you think, if you guys have any other ideas, or maybe have anything you noticed that maybe provide some credence to this theory in any way, shape, or form. I'd be happy to hear it. But I did want to leave one last piece of mud advice. We can all agree that season 1 of Severance was very well written and very well put together. Usually when it comes to a sequel to something that seemed to have captured the world or people became a huge fan of, the sequel tends to not be as good as the original. Whether it's because of the transitionary period to the rest of the story / ending of the story, later seasons, or because the writers didn't anticipate the series would go longer than 1 season. Point is, if the show doesn't retain the same caliber of quality that it had within the first season, that's okay. If you don't enjoy it, your opinions are valid. Constructive criticism, always necessary if you want to help writers learn how they can do things better and really fine-tune their craft. However, if you find yourself wanting to just throw out hate simply because it's there, simply because it's popular, if you find the critiques you're giving less constructive and more personal, maybe just consider that this is a creative project. Yes, a lot of money has gone into it and there's a lot of talent behind the scenes, but that doesn't guarantee a perfect product. I'm personally really invested in the characters of the story and where their story arcs are actually going to go. Several questions I still have lingering. I actually am going to make a predictions video right before the new season comes out, just so I can see how many of my predictions may be right. Creativity can be subjective, and while complaints can be objective, we should still be considerate that the people behind this product are human. So help them do better if you don't like it, but don't tear them down because it's not something you wanted. We're all just trying to create what we can, so it's important to treat each other with respect. I wanted to thank you guys all for watching. I really appreciate it. I got a lot of support on my last Severance video, so much appreciated everyone who decided to get involved. I wanted to go ahead and do a shout out. One of my commenters also happens to make music.
This lonely road will teach you more than severance. That alcoholism will warm you better. Don't call for Jesus.
So if you're interested, feel free to check them out. I want to do shout outs like this on every one of my videos. I know I'm not a huge YouTuber or anything, but I think sharing creativity is pretty important. So if you guys have any projects you're working on or any goals that you're pushing towards, let me know and I'd be happy to just kind of shout it out, throw it out there. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to do every single one I ever come across, but if I find it interesting, something I want to promote, then I'd be more than happy to give it a shout out. Again, thank you guys for watching. Reactions are coming as soon as season 2 comes out. Have a good one.